Hi everyone, it's Allison and welcome to a little exploration with what I think might be the most challenging standing pose there is, twisting triangle. So we're just going to do a few preparations for this. If you have a wall that you can use nearby, that would be great. You don't need one. I also have a strap and a block, but you could really do this whole thing without any props. So I'm going to scoot away from the wall. I'm maybe about, 2 or 3 feet. We're going to lay onto our backs. And we're going to start with some hamstring and hip flexion exploration. So I'm going to start with my knees bent and really feel the weight of the pelvis and all the landmarks and points of contact where the pelvis meets the ground. And then I'm going to take my left knee into my chest, and I'm just going to pause here. And this just helps to highlight one crucial piece in twisting triangle, which is getting into really great hip flexion. So right now I'm going to think to myself, well, my thigh is coming toward me, but my sitting bone, it's as if it's softening away from me. Now once you have that feel, you can use your strap and loop it around the ball of the left foot. If you don't have a strap, you can use hands somewhere along the leg. Okay? And we're going to soften the shoulders down. And see if you can allow your leg to be at least in the same line as the hip. If it's coming in front of you, this is you not really practicing hip flexion. So better that you have a bend to the knee and your thigh is at least in line with the hip or eventually closer toward you. Now if that is all feeling great, you can straighten through your bottom leg and really straighten and reach through the sole of the foot. Now a couple cycles of breath here. And see if you can find the energy to the sole of the foot to press into the strap while imagining the front of the thigh bone moving closer toward you and the back of the pelvis, the sitting bone, moving forward. Now for a couple easy breaths, you can let the thigh start to drift out to the side. And this is one of those, we're not really highlighting this particular pose, but it's nice to work with the idea of keeping the back of the opposite side of your pelvis on the ground. So I'm really working through some of my stabilizer muscles to keep my hips from just turning off to the side. Take a couple more rounds of breath. We're still in that really deep hip flexion phase, so getting foldable through the left hip. And then we're going to come into a supine version of the twisting triangle. So you can use your hands to guide the strap and the leg back in. Now from here, set my mic pack off to the side. Rather than taking just your leg across you, see if you can turn on to the outside of the right hip. And this is where I'm a fan of placing the foot to the wall in the same line as the hip. That mimics a little bit more what we'll do in twisting triangle. If you don't have a wall, it's okay. You can place your foot to the ground or another prop nearby. Okay. Now at that point, you can't see this probably just yet, but I'm going to slide my right arm straight out to the side. I'm going to use a block under my head. It just feels better. And right now I'm going to stretch and straighten both legs. Now, if you're in this and you feel like your left hip is really hiking up toward you, you can just gently wedge and nudge the outer thigh forward. Now let your top arm come up, straight up toward the ceiling, and let this next twist be more of a journey than a destination. And this becomes really important when we come into twisting triangle. Right? We're really good at turning from hips and neck, and what we're trying to move is ribs. All right, so what I'm thinking to myself is actually letting the back of the left rib cage lay back and rotate toward the floor. And I'm thinking the front of my right rib cage turning toward my left hip. Now you also might notice here and there I'm sliding my bottom shoulder a little out underneath me. That's giving me some more room. This is a really nice kind of full twist. Once you find your edge there, even if your arm isn't touching the floor, that's fine. See if you can energetically reach all the limbs away from each other. And to come out the same way you came in. So turn over onto your side. Right? You can make your way onto your back. I'm going to set all the props off to the side and then release. Whew. Now go ahead and stay where you are. I'm going to turn around so I have the wall. Well, I guess if you're using a wall, you'll also have to turn around. And we'll switch sides. Okay. So start with hip flexion. Let both knees bend. Feet can relax on the floor. And then take the right knee in toward you. See if you can get that feel of thigh moving close, but sitting bone tipping forward. And then we're going to loop the strap around the sole of the right foot. Take a couple breaths here. I find the moment that we stop defining this as a hamstring stretch and we start thinking of this exercise as a way to create hip flexion, we actually, over time, will actually improve the hamstrings as well. So it's that same quality of, the thigh softening toward you at least as high as your hip or higher. And that feel of the back of the sitting bone just melting toward the floor. It's not a push. We're not trying to arch. We're trying just to get that little differentiation between sitting bone, which is the base of the pelvis, and thigh bone. If you'd like, you can let your bottom leg straighten out. And then you can start to drift your leg a little bit out to the side, with emphasis at staying fairly stable through the opposite side. Opposite leg, opposite hip. It would be fairly easy just to flop the leg out to the side. We want to feel like we're actually working to create a little bit of hip flexion here, so that when we stand, it will be that much easier. Okay, and time for the grand finale. We're going to come into that twist. So you can bring your leg back up. You're going to roll all the way over onto your outer left hip. Again, so maybe that your foot touches the wall. If not, it can be on something else, or you can bring foot to floor. And see that now the right hip, it's as if it's just slightly softening away from you. This is so that you have room to twist and breathe. Now you can take your top arm, right arm up, left arm is wide, and then see if you can let the arm turn from the ribs turning. And any stopping point you feel, great opportunity to breathe and to soften and to try to let go of any tension or gripping that you're finding in your body. We're trying to invite the rib cage to turn. The lungs are turning, right? Our abdominal organs are turning. It's a very different feeling than just taking your arm and flopping it out to the side. So see if you can really work that slow motion rotation. Really feel the back of the right rib cage. Rotate toward the floor. Front corner pocket of your left rib cage as if it's turning away from the floor. Doesn't matter if your arm touches, but from wherever you are, take a full breath, really reach the limbs away from each other. And then you can come back out, turning over onto your side. You can make your way back onto your back, and then release. And we're going to come around to a stand. So you can bend your knees and roll up if you like. You could roll to your side. We're going to come all the way around to a standing position. And you might keep that block nearby. Again, if you don't have a block, it's okay. You don't need one. Okay. Go ahead and find just a nice, easy standing Tadasana position. And then from here, you can bring your palms together. And as you breathe in, stretch your arms up and overhead. Now, as you breathe out, fold in over your legs. You can take your hands to block or floor and step the right leg back. And we're going to begin in a warrior one. So your back heel can turn in, toes can turn out, front knee about 90 degrees or so. Now, as you rise up and stretch your arms for warrior, Continue to breathe here and imagine that both legs as if they're moving apart. Right? So I'm imagining that my right calf is actually stretching back, so it's taking some of the effort off of my front leg. Now this shape can start to become pyramid, which is our beginning into twisting triangle. So you can start to stretch and straighten up. Now from here, as you just gently float forward, let your torso lengthen forward at the same time that your left thigh bone is deepening into the socket. Right. We're going to take the right hand underneath the shoulder on block or floor. Some of you might even be touching your foot. Okay. You want the torso to be in a plane where your spine will be able to move. Okay. If your spinal muscles or your abdominal muscles are on to hold you in place, you're not going to be able to twist as well. So nice light spine. The effort right now is in the legs. Your front leg is like we had when we were on our back. So the sitting bone is moving away from the thigh is moving forward. Okay. Now from here, we're going to start to turn for twisting triangle. You can take your left arm, float it out so your hand is in the same plane as your eyes. And then take just as much time as you did when you were in the supine version. Notice the moment that your hips or just your neck want to turn. And see if you can really shift the focus to ribs. So imagine the right ribs turning underneath you, the left ribs turning back. And the way I like to practice this is turning on exhale. I let the inhales be a pause. Now, as you're continuing this, a couple things that might be helpful. If your hand is on a block especially, you might imagine without moving it, as though your hand on the block is trying to slide out to the side, as if you're firming the block down and trying to move it out. And that might help to open through both sides of your chest. Now, once you find a stopping point, and for me today it's not vertical. If I were to go vertical, I would lose all the work I'm doing through my hips, my legs. See if you can find just a slight laying back through your chest. Your head might lay back a little bit. Another full cycle of breath. And to come out, you can release the twist. Right? Let's shift forward into an Uttanasana, so you can bend the front knee, step forward and fold in over your legs, and then roll up to a stand. And stretch your arms at the top. And as you inhale, stretch the arms. As you exhale, fold forward. You can bring your hands onto floor block, and this time step your left leg back for warrior one. So you're going to anchor through your back heel, bend through your front knee, and rise up. Now our emphasis on this warrior one is getting used to the situation in the legs. So see if you can really start to use the back leg, the back thigh, the back calf to help draw some weight off of the front leg and the front foot. We'll continue that as we stretch up to the front leg to come into pyramid pose. So as if your thigh bone is deepening into the socket as you come forward, your socket is rolling over your thigh bone. And you can take your left hand down to block or floor or foot. But again, find a plane where your torso will be able to move. If you're already working some of your torso muscles here, you're not going to be able to twist. Now from here, you might imagine right sitting bone moving away from you, right thigh bone energetically moving toward you. And then we'll float the right arm out, hand at about eye level. Now from here, it's all ribs. And what's moving the ribs? The oblique abdominals, right? This is actually a wonderful abdominal exercise if you let them actually move. So see if rather than just shifting your hips off to the side, rather than just turning from your neck, take your time, turn your left ribs underneath you, turn your right ribs back, pause for every inhale. Exhale to turn. And as you're starting to get close to your stopping point, right, keep working your legs. And you might imagine as though you're moving that block a little bit out to the side. And sometimes that'll give you a little extra wiggle room through the shoulders. Now from here, imagine that slight laying back, like your torso is going to slide a little bit back. Your head can lay a little bit back. And we'll take another full cycle of breath. Again, don't worry how high your arm is. That's decoration. And Next time you exhale, you can undo, shift forward, and step forward to fold for an Uttanasana. You can bend your knees. And then roll your way up to a stand. Sweep your arms. And join your palms to come to Tadasana. And let's take one nice, easy counter pose for this one. So you can bring your hands behind you and either hold on to a strap or you can interlace your fingers. And with a bend to your elbows, let your shoulder blades roll toward each other. Let your elbows hug toward each other. And then maybe you start to stretch your knuckles away from your back. And a nice, easy chest opener. Now you're welcome to stay here. You'll probably get more out of this chest stretch. If you want to add a forward bend instead, you can deepen through your hips. And as you come forward, allow the backs of the arms to move away from your back body. Allow your neck to release down. Take 3 deep breaths, whether you're standing in your chest stretch or you're folding forward. If you are forward, you can start to release your hands, lift your chest up to halfway, and then fold in to make your way all the way back up to a standing position. You can roll your way up. Maybe you float your arms at the top. Bring palms together. This would be a great way to prepare for another practice, maybe a seated kind of cooling restorative practice, also to get you ready for Shavasana. If this was it, then continue and enjoy your day, and I hope you feel nice and energized and refreshed. And thanks for trying this out. See you in the next one.